Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making a birthday cake, and not just because that's the name of the recipe, but because May is my birthday month. It is also the month that I was diagnosed with celiac disease in, so it's also an anniversary, 8 years, going strong. You're not going to believe this, but there's more that happens in May. It is also Celiac Awareness Month. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're probably aware of celiac disease already, but if not, I'll put some links down in the description of like major celiac sources so you can go read and learn a little bit, become more aware, some might say. And I will also put the recipe down there. So if you are curious about how to make this, you can click there. If you're curious about celiac disease and want to learn more of the struggles, the plight that is my life and has been for the last 8 years, you can click down there and learn a little bit about that. But I mean, I'm just struggling so much. Look at the struggle. I'm eating cake. I'm gonna eat this whole cake. Just a little peek behind the curtain. I will eat this whole cake. Just that's just how the cookie crumbles. Before we get into that and just reenact Matilda, we first need to run through the ingredients and then get into cooking. Milk, flour, vanilla extract, sugar, eggs, powdered sugar, baking powder, butter, sprinkles, cocoa powder, and salt. The first step, and hopefully this looks good because I'm actually recording on my phone because my GoPro decided to stop working, is to cream together the butter and the sugar. So it's using a hand mixer, mix that all up until it's nice and smooth. Next is to add in the vanilla and the eggs, and then just, once again, hand mixer until fully incorporated. Now add in the baking powder, the salt, and the flour, and then mix until combined. Pour in the milk, and then we're gonna mix that for 2 minutes, and it should be a nice smooth batter at the end. Now this step is optional, but where's the fun without funfetti? And we're going to add some sprinkles and then mix that to the batter. Now pour the batter into 2 8-inch cake pans that are greased and parchment lined, and then, shoot for the same amount of batter in each one. Now throw those in the oven at 350 for 25 to 30 minutes, and a toothpick should come out clean from the center. So the time is more of like a gauge, and then the toothpick is the actual test of if it's done. And then once everything's kind of cooled down enough that you can handle it, remove the cake from the cake pans and then put them on a wire rack to fully cool. Now, once again, we've had some GoPro issues, so the first 2 steps were not recorded, and all that you missed was to cream the butter, so very similar to what we did with the cake batter, just no sugar involved, so effectively you're just whipping up room temperature butter, and then adding vanilla and cocoa powder to that butter, and then now what you're seeing on screen, you're cut up. And so for this is to add in the powdered sugar to that mix, about a cup at a time, mixing as you go along. And then finally for the frosting, we're going to add the milk, mix that up, and it should now look like frosting. Now we're on to the assembly step because we have the cake, we have the frosting, time to put it together. And because it's a 2-layer system, we have the bottom layer that we need to put the frosting on top of, to then put the upper tier on top of that. And then just kind of use the frosting to fill any gaps, hide any imperfections. I have this little plastic tool that I can use as like a bit of a straight edge to kind of smooth everything out, make it look very clean. But you do not need that. If you just have a spatula, it'll be just as good. In the end, it's frosting and cake. Like, it'll taste the same. Just because I had this thing, I want to make it look a little nice. And then the final step is to add sprinkles to the top of the cake, and you can do the, much more skilled and difficult avenue that I took of trying to use a stencil and then almost immediately missing, and then just giving up and just covering the whole top in sprinkles. Or you can just go straight to sprinkles on the entire top. But where's the fun in that? Now, a keen observer might have noticed that I put in the sprinkles to make this funfetti, and then if you look here, there is none, and that's because all the sprinkles sank to the bottom. And so when I was taking it out of the cake pan, it looked great. I thought this was gonna be amazing. And then when I cut into it, not a funfetti to be seen. It doesn't really affect the flavor, so Not a huge point off, but to be noted. Now let's cut this and give it a little taste test. The first point is this is quite dense. I'm not sure if it's something that I did or if it's the recipe. There's a lot of different, I feel like, factors that could play into this. It felt very liquidy, and to me, liquidy means that there's less air pockets in there. I could be wrong there because I am not a food expert. So I'm not sure if that's factually true. That just feels logically true to me. Because I also do think that the recipe says the milk is there to make it fluffy. So I could be very wrong on how the liquid level does anything. The other side is that I use King Arthur flour, and the recipe kind of says to use the Pillsbury flour, which I've never actually seen like out in the wild. So maybe, because not all gluten-free flours are made equally, maybe the ratios of whatever's in the King Arthur one just doesn't play nice with how the one that they used works. I mean, in hindsight, I should have found a King Arthur specific recipe to make this. Hindsight's 2020. And then the other thing is, like, it had lift to it when I took it out of the oven, and then it kind of deflated. So I don't know if maybe I did something, maybe it wasn't baked enough. Like, the toothpick came out clean, but I don't know, maybe it just wasn't all the way done. A lot of things can happen. I mean, baking literally is a science. You're doing chemistry. And then when you add gluten-free baking into it, it's like advanced organic chemistry. It's a hard one. From what I remember, I didn't actually take it, but I remember kids in college being like, this is the hardest science. And I was like, I believe you. I'm over here taking physics because it just kind of makes sense, because it's like you push an object, object moved, good to go. So all of that is just like, I probably need to make this a few more times to figure what's out and maybe find just a different recipe that works with the flour that I have. I'm not going to really hold that against the recipe in terms of like how good it is, because it also is still tasty cake. Like, it's just dense, tasty cake, but still tasty cake. It kind of reminds me of the flancocho recipe that I did a while back, which is like flan cake. So not a negative experience, just probably like if you were giving this to somebody, especially somebody who like eats gluten, is like used to fluffy cake, they might be a little bit more judgy, being like, why is this way? Unless they're like a snob, anybody's going to eat this because it's still good. Now, it's also really good because the frosting is fantastic. I haven't made frosting, I feel like cake frosting, in so long that either I just forgot how good it is, or this recipe specifically is just primo. I want to eat so much of this cake just to get the frosting in my mouth. It is delicious. So I hope you make this recipe almost purely for the frosting. I don't know why. It is just so good to me. It's kind of a like fudgy ganache, and it just is delicious. Overall, a little dense, but also delicious, delightful, and I can't think of any other D words, but you should make this. Make a cake. If not this cake, go make a cake and share it with people. I'm not going to share mine because I'm stingy and I want to eat this whole cake. I'll probably make a second cake closer to my actual birthday and share that one, but this one's mine. I earned it. All right. So on that note, bye, Mom. Still not dead. See you.